and famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights.
Cooked them and ate them because we didn't know if we would have food for breakfast.
There were people in the neighborhood who ate the cats. Either you die from hunger or find a way.
Mango leaves boiled into a broth. Cats, sometimes even soil. Moist soil rolled into a ball, swallowed with some water.
You've probably seen the headlines by now all over social media. Thousands of genetically modified
This is an
mosquitoes.
Omega Watchman Media Group production. The views on this channel are those of Omega Watchman Media Group LLC, and not those of Google, YouTube, or their advertising affiliates. Due to the mature nature of this content, language, and death, viewer discretion is strongly advised.
And there shall be famines and pestilences.
More than 4 years since COVID-19 was declared a pandemic by the World Health Organization in March 2020, fear of another mass outbreak looms large. The WHO on August 14 declared the current upsurge of Mpox in Central Africa as a global emergency requiring urgent action. The global concern for the virus grew as it spread to other African countries. And within no time, the deadly strain of Mpox, Clade 1b, crossed the African continent to reach Sweden, Pakistan, and other countries. The virus has killed more than 500 people so far.
Risk of a dangerous virus spread by mosquitoes has 4 towns west of Boston, Massachusetts, urging residents to stay indoors after dark until at least October.
Top U.S. infectious disease official Dr. Anthony Fauci is currently recovering at home from a West Nile infection.
As Jared Hill reports, he was hospitalized for nearly a week, contracting the virus, which spread through the bite of an infected mosquito.
This is an Omega Watchman Media Group production.
And there shall be famines and pestilences.
Dr. Anthony Fauci is recovering at home after being hospitalized with the West Nile virus. He said he likely picked it up from a mosquito bite at his home in Washington. He is expected to make a full recovery. According to the CDC, only around 20% of people infected with West Nile show symptoms, including fever, chills, and fatigue. Meantime, a rising risk on the East Coast that is ruining peak summer plans, shutting down entire communities. Infected mosquitoes are spreading a rare but serious disease called Eastern equine encephalitis, known as Triple E. Symptoms can include fever, headache, and seizures, with some of the infected developing long-term neurological issues.
As New York sprays for mosquitoes carrying dangerous viruses like Eastern equine encephalitis, also called Triple E, concern is spreading nationwide. Cases popping up in Massachusetts, Vermont, New Jersey, Wisconsin, and tonight, New Hampshire. New Hampshire health officials say one adult resident died of Triple E after being hospitalized for severe nervous system disease.
This morning, in the peak of summer mosquito season, 2 families are sounding alarms about rare mosquito-borne illnesses and the dangers they pose. In suburban St. Louis, 18-year-old John Proctor VI, known as BB, lies paralyzed in a hospital bed on a ventilator. His father says it started earlier this month when the recent high school graduate complained about headaches and dizziness. Then, symptoms escalated.
His speech was slurred, he couldn't raise his arms up, and he couldn't smile.
Hospital doctors placing the previously healthy teen in intensive care. The diagnosis, West Nile virus from a mosquito bite, paralyzing him from the neck down. The family praying he'll recover. This as the family of Stephen Perry, a 41-year-old New Hampshire man killed by the rare Triple E virus, speaks out. Writing in his obituary, the director of nursing services and avid Boston sports fan was stricken by a sudden and rare brain infection and died after a week in the hospital, adding Stephen left those that he loved far too soon. It marks New Hampshire's first reported human case of Eastern equine encephalitis, or Triple E, in a decade. 4 other states also reporting cases. The virus is rare but has a mortality rate of approximately 30%.
Urging residents to stay indoors after dark until at least October.
West Nile virus infections are the leading cause of mosquito-borne disease in the United States. Many areas are seeing cases, including New York City, where the health department is spraying from dusk to dawn. Many areas are seeing cases, including New York City, where the health department is spraying from dusk to dawn.
This is an Omega WATCHMAN Media Group production.
Experts say there's reason to believe that what we're seeing in Gaza is famine.
And famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights.
Our next story is from Sudan, the other country facing a civil war. With all the attention given to Gaza and Ukraine, the world sometimes forgets about the Sudan, about the war that's been raging on there for over a year, about the 49 million people there, a third of whom face food insecurity. About 5 million of them are on the brink of famine.
There were people in the neighborhood who ate the cats.
Sudan, where senior United Nations officials are calling on the global community to do more to get humanitarian aid into Sudan after a famine was declared in at least one part of the Darfur region following 15 months of war between the Sudanese military and the Rapid Support Forces. Officials say more than a dozen more areas are at risk of famine as fighting impedes aid.
Eventually, the body has nothing left to scavenge except for muscle and bones. You become gaunt and weak. There's an ache that comes with extreme hunger, which causes acute physical and mental distress. But that doesn't last long, because your body's already wasted away and soon your heart will fail. That is death by starvation. It is a slow and cruel death. Right now, the entire population of Gaza, 2.2 million people, do not have enough available calories. Half the population, 1.1 million people, are on the brink of acute starvation, and famine is projected to take hold.
Some of Israel's closest allies have condemned comments made by Minister Bezalel Smotrich about letting 2 million Palestinians die of hunger. Smotrich claimed that it might be justified, it might be moral, to let them starve until Israeli captives are returned.
There shall be famines and pestilences.
The UN Health Agency launched a 6-month plan to try to stop the transmission of Mpox. Chris Bryant is live in our newsroom with what makes this outbreak different than the one that happened in 2022. Chris?
Yeah, good afternoon, Lee. Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, has been declared a public health emergency of international concern by the World Health Organization.
To kind of simplify, there are two different versions of Mpox. The kind that we had here in the United States in the last couple of years has been the less contagious, less severe version.
A multi-country outbreak happened in July of 2022. The virus spreads through sexual contact. This latest strand has a rapid spread and is considered more dangerous than the previous strain.
Who declared this an emergency when the first case of this new strain of monkeypox was discovered in Sweden?
The World Health Organization has sounded the alarm twice, one in 2022 and now in 2024. We're having more cases in Africa, and we're going to predict that we're going to have some cases more here in the U.S.
This is an Omega WATCHMAN Media Group
production.
production.
For the first time ever, genetically modified mosquitoes are being released in the U.S. The project's taking place in the Florida Keys. It was approved by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency last May, and the state of Florida issued an experimental use permit last June. It allows the release of up to 750 million genetically altered mosquitoes this year and next.
You've probably seen the headlines by now all over social media. Thousands of genetically modified mosquitoes being released in the Florida Keys this week. Every time I see it, it makes me itch all over.
Yeah, I say mosquito and you just twitch. See, you did it right there. Yeah, there's a lot of confusion and worry over what that could mean. People even asking, you see right here on Facebook, what could go wrong? Why? Just why?
I'm with them.
I feel that person's pain. Here's another. What could go wrong here?
Top U.S. infectious disease official Dr. Anthony Fauci is currently recovering at home from a West Nile infection.
As Jared Hill reports, he was hospitalized for nearly a week, contracting the virus, which spread through the bite of an infected mosquito.
Urging residents to stay indoors after dark until at least October.